Welcome to Could Be Pretty Cool News, the podcast where we dive into the exciting world of creative entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Casey, and together we'll embark on a journey to explore this dynamic ecosystem from multiple angles, including academia, research and data, community building, and compelling personal narratives from creative entrepreneurs themselves. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered as we uncover the stories and strategies behind building successful creative ventures. It's time to discover why the world of creative entrepreneurship could be pretty cool. Welcome to a very special episode of Could Be Pretty Cool News. This is a special episode because it coincides with our 5-year anniversary rebrand. After 5 years of growth and evolution, we wanted to clarify and commit to our mission, ensuring our brand tells our story effectively. Today's episode features some of the incredible people who helped us transform Could Be Pretty Cool from a pandemic-born podcast production company into an audio-first think tank that's going to reshape the creative economy. You'll meet the team from Brandsavor Media and Marketing, who guided our brand's storytelling and messaging framework, and also web designer Sasha Revolus, who translated our vision into a compelling digital presence. Many entrepreneurs struggle with effectively communicating their brand story, and trust us, we know. How do you distill your mission, vision, and impact into something that resonates with your audience? Let's dive into this conversation with Nakia Dolphe and Akate Kern, co-founders of Brandsaver. So, this is, of course, a very special episode of Could Be Pretty Cool News. Of course, we highlight creator led businesses and indie entrepreneurs. That's what we do. That's what the show is about. But this particular show is shouting out some of the folks who have really been helping us with our rebrand. And so I would actually love for them to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their company. Nakia, I'll start with you.
Yes, Casey, thank you so much for having us join today. We are super excited, and obviously, all the amazing things that you have been able to create, what could be pretty cool, and just having the opportunity to be a part of that has been really amazing. So, I'm Nakia Dolphe. I'm one of the co-founders and head of strategy for Brand Savior Media and Marketing, and we are a strategic communications and marketing consultancy that works really closely with social impact companies as well as tech companies, really helping to define their brand storytelling narrative, thought leadership, as well as PR. And so we have had such a pleasure and honor working with Casey via Goody Nation, which we started that sort of project and really helping to build out their brand foundation. And now what could be pretty cool is just been pretty cool to work with you on distinguishing how you all are coming really morphing into a different company. And I'll turn it over to my partner, Akate.
Hello, everyone, and I'm Akate Kern, a co-founder and CEO of Brandsavor, and really excited to have been working with Casey on this amazing rebrand and just really excited for you to launch it to the world because I think you have something really special. And I'm just so happy that Brandsaver was able to be a part of it. I just love everything that you've done. And I'm just looking for you to be largely successful and the world to see what you have to offer.
Oh, thank you so much. I received that. And trust me, the excitement is all mine and all everyone at the team. I don't think I realized how difficult it is sometimes to tell your own company story because it's hard to see the big picture when you're just kind of combing through day to day trying to figure out how to make all the dots connect. And so even if it's not like about Could Be Pretty Cool specifically, I would love for anyone else who's wondering, yeah, how does branding work? Or how do you actually like approach crafting a brand story for someone? What are some of the key elements that you focus on, or what is your process there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Casey. And I think for us, when we think about, we've been in the industry for quite some time, over 20 years, and brand storytelling really comes down to more than just words, right? It's really about capturing the hearts and minds of your mission, especially what could be pretty cool. That was definitely something that we kept top of mind, and really the impact that you want to make on the world. And so we knew it could be pretty cool. The brand was evolving. You started at the onset of COVID, where there was a lot of different shifts happening in the industry. And knowing that you wanted to evolve beyond that podcast production to become more of a thought leader in the creative economy, we wanted that to be reflected in the way that we told your story. And so we wanted to focus on three core elements. And really, it's this is very much cohesive across when we do approach brands that are looking to really evolve their storytelling. The first one is clarity, right? Like making sure that your message was focused and really easy to understand, like you being that audio first think tank. And then the second one was authenticity, right? Like we wanted to make sure that the messaging reflects your unique voice, your values, your audience, where you're going, where you were, where you started, where you are now, and where you're headed to. So always thinking about that story in three core themes. And then scalability, right? Like we wanted to create a framework that will really support could be pretty cool's expansion. We talked about you guys going into research, obviously focus on education as well as in that, and also that community building aspect. And so we really wanted to create a brand narrative that encapsulated all of that. You're forward thinking, you're an audio first think tank. That's really what we landed on throughout this exercise, and really making sure that we're calling out how you're helping those indie creators, how you are working with and partnering with cultural organizations and even educational institutions, and really navigating the creative landscape. And also too, how you're using research to back that with your storytelling insights. And so that's like the process and approach that we took, and really trying to make sure that we are creating something that's holistic and really speaks to your audience, and where you are going as a brand and as a company.
Again, when it's your thing, it's almost like when you're in a dream and it's you can see yourself, but it's wait, that's not right. It's just it's I'm baffled still just by how you all were able to put pieces together of a thing that I am just like constantly trying to figure out what does this even mean? And so I would love to know from you, Ikate, when it came to coordinating within a team, when it came to how you all communicated about all these pieces and somehow made it make sense. Like, how do you all work as a team to tell a cohesive brand story for someone?
Yeah, before we even get started, we do come together as a collective and just determine like who's responsible for who's what the roles and responsibilities. I think that's really important when you're working as a team. And then also getting the priorities straight. When we are working with our clients, we make sure that we set expectations right at the onset of any project that we're working on. So setting those expectations are critical, and also setting up priorities to make sure that we're going to be meeting, absolutely for us, exceeding those expectations from the onset. So when we started working with you, of course, we had to schedule a regular cadence of meetings. We wanted to make sure that we're checking in with you, providing you with those updates, and just making sure that you have visibility of what we're working on. Because I know a lot of times people are like, "Oh, what are you working on? How far along have you gotten?" We don't want our clients having to tap us. We want to make sure that there absolutely is some sort of timeline that's in place. And of course, working with us when Nakia was working on putting together that brand narrative framework, we made sure that there was very much visibility for you. So we have Google Docs that we work in so that clients have visibility of just step by step of how we're progressing with everything. Those deliverables, when we started the project, to make sure that we're hitting those milestones as well, it's important for us to make sure that whatever we said that we're going to do, we're going to do it. So we had to make sure that that approach stayed in place and that we were making sure that we're hitting those milestones. And then also throughout that process, we wanted to make sure that you providing us with feedback. because if there was something that was just not right or we missed the mark, we wanted to make sure that you gave us feedback. We can go back as a collective and look over things to make sure that we're getting it right the next time, and then present that back to you to make sure, like, you know what? Yep, you guys, this is correct, the mistakes that you made, and we can move things forward. So I think that in a nutshell is just how we pull everything together. Day-to-day communication, of course, you have access to us, whether it's text messages or email, and then really breaking down that strategy and making sure that phase by phase, we're meeting those deliverables.
Yeah, I can definitely say for someone who is this unfamiliar with the world of branding and brand storytelling, I never at any point felt like, "What's happening? What does any of this mean?" It definitely was, like, I felt taken care of, which is so important when you're working with new
Yeah.
collaborators especially, but it just I never felt unsure about what was going on, which is fantastic. And something else that is particularly interesting about this collab was in the middle of it, in the midst of you all rebranding Could Be Pretty Cool, you also rebranded yourselves. And I would love to know in this process, what kind of led to you all deciding, oh, we too are going to rebrand? And just tell us a little bit about how branding experts can then look inward to rebrand themselves.
It's so hard. It's
You know,
so
it's
hard. It is very, very hard. And
there's a big absolutely behind it.
yes, there is actually, we received a cease and assist letter from another company because our previous name was Tenant Consultancy, and it really did have meaning. TEN of Tenant was Tawanda, Akate, and Nakia, and backwards and forwards, TENTTENT. So it had very much had meaning because it was our names, the first letters of our name. And so when we had to decide whether, what was going to be our next, we wanted to stay really near and dear to our tagline, which was let's get saucy. And we just went through a various number of exercises to figure out like what is going to sound right, what is going to feel long lasting, what is going to feel modern. And so that's how we started out with the kind of ideating like what this is really going to look like. But it was really hard. It's hard to work on yourself, just like you stated. It's really hard to really work on yourself and put yourself first and want people to understand who you are and why you belong in this industry and that you have a stamp on this industry. So it was difficult. I know for me, and I think with having two partners who are equally creative and wanting to get this right, it was once we started down the road, I don't think that we didn't drag it out. We did
Yeah.
not drag out the process. It was very much something that we all agreed upon, and especially you have other business partners, you think there would be like a tug of war, no, yes, no, yes. But no, it was fairly easy for us to come up with something, but I'll let Nakia.
No, all 1000% everything what Akante said. I will also say, like, we had to put, like, we were the clients, like, we put our client shoes on. And as Akante mentioned, there was a number of different exercises that we did ourselves. Casey, the same type of process that we walked you through with the workshop, we did that on ourselves. And so imagine having to think much more differently. It does challenge you in a sense because one, we weren't really expecting to have to go through this process, but it really pushed us to think differently for ourselves and really making sure that we're future proofing our business and like what we stand for moving forward. Because I talked about scalability earlier. We had to really think about that for ourselves as well. Traditionally, we are PR and communication professionals, but how do we really look at a brand identity that also gives us the ability to scale beyond PR and communications? And we wanted to really stretch ourselves in that way. And then shout out to our creative partner, Mary Creative, Ashley and her team did such a phenomenal job at like really walking us through the imagery and like our actual brand identity, which we loved. We wanted something that was modern, fresh, that really could grow with us.
Mhm.
And so I just think it was definitely, I think it stretched us in many ways, especially when, like Akate mentioned, we got a cease and desist. So we weren't expecting it at all. But I think it forced us to think and move differently. And so it was exciting putting our client shoes on because we're typically the ones doing all of the sort of movement and managing when it comes to these type of projects, but then putting ourselves in that seat was interesting. But
Well,
very yeah.
I would say this too. I don't think that our foundation was set because I can look back at what the work that we did prior. So we did an exercise called PVTV. So that was our foundation. So shout out to Jeff Hillmeyer. And so purpose, values, tenants, no, purpose, vision, tenants, and values.
Yes.
So referring to your why behind the organization and individuals that exist, looking at your vision, describe like kind of the aspirations for the future of your business, the tenants, which is like the fundamental like principles behind your business and the beliefs, and then your values, like those ethical and behavioral standards that you have within your organization. So we had that, and we start out every single meeting reciting our PVTV every single week. So it sets us, it grounds us to make sure that we understand who we are, while we got into this, and how we want to move forward. So I think having that foundational piece made the journey of rebranding a little bit less strenuous, for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a commonality with a lot of folks on this show. Sometimes that unexpected thing that came out of nowhere that at first you're like, oh no, ends up being the catalyst for something that never would have happened otherwise. So that's just a huge kudos to you all. And my final question for you is I definitely initially never thought about branding or brand storytelling or brand messaging. I was just like, okay, we're going to put something out and people will figure it out. And that is 100% not true. So, for any other creative entrepreneur or indie artist who might be listening to this and they're like, personal brand, like storytelling, I don't like, why is that important? I don't get why. What are your thoughts or words of advice for them?
Ooh, that's this is what I can say. I can say that we are all individuals. Everyone has a different DNA. We
Mhm.
all have had different life experiences, different upbringings. We have a different journey that we're all on. And I truly think that if you tap into really trying to hone in on your superpowers,
Mhm.
you can really tell an authentic story that people really want to understand, hear, and share. So I think that if you're a creative and you're just, I really don't know who I am, what to say, there's just dig deep and know that whatever you have to offer is vastly different from anyone else on this planet. And if you keep true to that, you'll start to see a lot of stories unfolding. Even just go back to your childhood and think about some of the things that you could think about that you could bring to today as an adult that would you want to share with someone that really would be helpful or pertains to your industry, whatever that looks like. But I really think that people don't understand you as an individual have a unique story to tell that no one else has because you are the only person who has lived your life and experienced the things that you have. So
Yeah.
don't take those things for granted. I think the people who understand that and scream it from the rooftops are the ones who are the most heard. And that's why a lot of people sometimes shy away. I'm like, oh, I really don't have a story to tell because that person over their story is so big. No, they just understood, what that story is. They're willing to share it, even if it's hurts or embarrassing or whatever the case may be. We've all been there. So I just encourage people just to really tap into their own true, authentic journey and story and be willing to tell it with a broader audience.
Yeah. I would piggyback off of that and saying I think as a creator and especially as an entrepreneur, it can feel really lonely at times. And so I think with that, like being able to collaborate amongst your other peers or other folks that may be going on the same journey as you, like don't be afraid to, build a community around yourself as you're navigating through this because we know it can be extremely lonely, especially when you're initially starting out as a creative or wherever journey you're on. Just making sure that you're consistently looking to build some type of community around you to offer up being able to get advice from them, vice versa, like having folks that hold you accountable, I think is just so important, especially when you're navigating through this. Like Akate mentioned, yes, being able to show up as your authentic self, but being able to also build a community around you that holds you accountable. I think that's extremely important. And then also just like making sure like the audience that you're speaking to can see themselves in your story, right? That involves a certain level of community and being open and having conversations about sometimes that you have to be vulnerable in a sense in order to really crack the code and get to where you want to be. And so I would just encourage, if you're on that journey as a creator, as a creative, don't be afraid to just go after communities that are like-minded as you and that you're able to really open up and have sometimes those very hard conversations. I think it's definitely necessary in order for you to really continue to evolve and grow as your personal brand. So,
Only gonna make you better.
exactly.
Yes, wise words. I definitely it and just it's strange. It feels like it's the same thing, but after going through the exercises and like re-looking at everything and like looking towards the future, it feels like a brand new start in a way, which is very like encouraging. It's let's go, let's do this. And I would love, how can people find out more about Brandsaver? How can people find out more about you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, we are on LinkedIn. You can find us at Brand Savior. Our website is www.brandsaver.co. We are actively on LinkedIn as always, so you can definitely hit us up there. We're always sharing different insights, thought leadership, spotlights, all the things as it relates to our industry and other folks that are really doing some amazing things. So,
Yeah, I encourage you, everyone, to follow us on LinkedIn with our company page. Nakia shares some really great newsletter every week, and it's filled with gems. So if you're wanting to stay connected to us and keep learning and educating yourself around brand narratives, PR, media, marketing, all the things, it's a great resource, really great resource.
After establishing our brand narrative and messaging with the Brandsaver team, we needed someone who could translate that vision into a compelling digital presence. And that's where Sasha Revolus came in. Sasha brings over a decade of experience in web design and branding, helping small businesses and entrepreneurs establish their online presence. As a creative director and entrepreneur herself, she understands the challenges of telling your own story visually. Her approach to web design is refreshingly personal and client focused, something I experienced firsthand during our rebrand. Let's hear from Sasha about her creative journey, her philosophy on balancing entrepreneurship with personal fulfillment, and how she's helping businesses like ours make their mark online.
My name is Sasha Revolus, and I am a creative director. I am an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, and so many. I wear too many hats to really go down, but I'm gonna go with those. So the talent thing, it's a little strange, and I know some people think it's like this amazing story. I think it's just normal because that's how I grew up, but I am first generation Haitian American. And I grew up in Miami, Florida, really Fort Lauderdale, but I always say Miami because no one knows where Fort Lauderdale is. Whole nother thing. And I have always been very just creative in general. I always want to try something. I love learning things. And I was just blessed to have parents that allowed me to jump into anything and at least try it once, see if I liked it. If I did, they would then be like, have at it. And that's how design and every hat I've worn, which I think design is like my third or fourth hat that I gained out of the many. It really started, I started my first t-shirt business when I was 14 with my best friend. And my cousin gave me money. He bought me all the shirts, all the paints, all the things to do it. And I was like, I'm going to get ready to start selling my clothing. I was already selling them to friends in school. And then I needed a website. So I saved up all my money and I found a web designer, gave them my money, but never got a website. Yeah. They essentially ran off on the plug and I was like devastated, like absolutely devastated. And it was fine. I still kept selling or whatever. But I started taking college classes a little bit earlier. So there was a computer science and web design class. So I took it as like an elective and fell in love with it. And I was like, I'm going to design my own website because I'm not giving anyone my money ever again. And that was essentially the beginning of the design portion of things. Although fashion at that point was more of a passion for me, I needed to have the skill to essentially market my business or put my business out there. People having small businesses and websites weren't like a really big thing at that point. But I was like, yes, me and my big cartel, and it's going to be fire designing my graphics in like paint and stuff before getting Photoshop. And that's really how it started for me learning for myself and then becoming really passionate about not letting other business owners fall into that trap, that money trap that we tend to at the beginning of starting a business fall into, and you just shelling out cash because you're trying to learn, you're trying to get your foot in, get everything done. But normally you're a 1 or 2 man show trying to figure everything out. And I wanted to be that beacon for specifically women or younger women starting businesses to help them with all the things that I had to learn on my own and not be the disappearing designer that a lot of people experience when it comes to web design and graphics, essentially. I think as a business owner, it's just really difficult to be trusting. Maybe it's an immigrant thing. I don't like people playing with people's money and time because I knew what my parents had, like what they had to do to make sure that we were good. So knowing that like my mom was giving me money, my cousins was giving me money because they really believed in what I was doing, and then someone just ran with it, it made me feel horrible because people believed in me and I believed in someone who I didn't know, and then it just didn't pan out how it needed to. And I don't want anyone else to have that feeling because most people stop, right? Most people will just not go back, whatever, this wasn't for me. They'll do the whole, if it was supposed to be for me, it would have been. I don't believe in that saying at all. I think it's a learning experience. Some of us can handle it, some of us can't. And I just wanted to be if you did get, because I'm not gonna lie to you, 90% of the people who end up working with me have worked with several other people prior to, and they all come with horror stories, all of them. And I've had so many clients become actual friends because I'm very comfortable. I'm always like, hey, what do you need? Where are you at? Like, how can we figure out and make it work on your schedule? Just let me know what your timeline is and we'll figure it out. Like some projects that should have been a month were like a year and a half. It happens because life happens. And I want people to feel comfortable and have the room to really navigate their new business, but also be in it. Because I feel like we miss so many things when we start a business because we're trying to run and get everything done. And you don't get to experience like your first sale, like your first amazing customer or your first product that you handmade by yourself, taking the pictures, like all that stuff. I want people to still have that without being like, oh my God, how do I work a Shopify? How do I connect my bank account? Where do I buy a domain? What is a domain? I really wanted to take that off for people because it's like a 2-second thought for me where it's 2 months of a thought for another person. 100% of my clients, I won't say 100, I'll say 98% of my clients come from word of mouth. It's because I worked with one other person and they were like, oh my God, no, the girl that I work with was amazing. She'll walk you through it. Here's her number. Just call her, girl. She'll help you. I used to post on socials. I still use LinkedIn here and there, but I've never in my life for my web design business paid for an ad, email it, like none of that. Because I don't want to, for one. It's not my area of expertise. That's another skill that I'm not trying to acquire. But yeah, so it really, I think having one client that trusted me and then told a friend that trusted me, that told a friend that trusted me, and it just kept going is literally how everything has come. So my clients come to me, one, already knowing my personality and already trusting me because they came from someone that they trust. So it has been really cool to see how many people, because I think at this point when I was going through, when I was scaling back, I've done over like 2,000 projects since like officially starting my business. Not the friends of friends situation. Just going through my client project board. And I was like, oh my God, to see that I've worked, and some of them are repeat clients with different projects, but to see that I've worked with so many people or touched so many projects and had never paid for an ad. Nobody was essentially a stranger because they came from someone of someone. It's really dope. And I talk to people like I talk to everybody. I talk to you like I talk to my mom. I talk to you like I talk to my sister. I'm not a sugarcoater. I'm a straight shooter. I've always been. My mom also says I'm a terrible liar and I should stop attempting. So I have. So you want a lot of you look cool. Just, oh yeah, I was really like, no, I'm horrible at it. So when I talk to people, and if you come to me with an idea and I think it's stupid, I'm going to tell you. And I realize that a lot of my clients appreciate that. Hey, I love where you're going with this. However, comma, not for you, not for you. I started my design business officially in 2008. So 3 years out of high school, I was in college and I started it. And it was really small, nothing crazy, but fresh out of college or fresh out of high school into college, I was like, all right, it's becoming a lot. It's time I don't need Uncle Sam knocking on my door. It's talking about where you get all this extra money from. Let me go ahead and make it official. I have the disease that my mother likes to call being a serial entrepreneur. Everything that I'm good at, everyone, you should make that a business. And I'm like, no, I just like to do it. I don't want to sell everything. So it even with the design, it really started as just doing it because I needed it for me. And then my friends, and it's like, oh, I can do it. It's cool, whatever. Scaling back, I'm still doing it, still love design, still love to help small brands, just need to do it on a smaller scale because I do have hobbies and I do have things that I want to do in this half of my life. I've decided to have more of a relaxed, enjoyable portion because I've always been a worker bee, always been an entrepreneur. But as far as hobbies, during the pandemic, while I was like the busiest I've ever been design-wise, I feel like everybody started a business during the pandemic. I still managed to have so much off time that I learned to knit, and I really like it. To the point where now whenever my friends have babies, I make them these adorable baby blankets. I refuse to sell them. Do not ask me to sell. If I don't know you and the baby in which you are having, there will be no blanket because it is a hobby. I want to do it when I want to do it. I want it to be something I do out of love for my friends and my family. So that is probably my favorite one. I love to cook. I've always loved to cook, but it got a little crazy during the pandemic. If anyone was on my IG at the time of the pandemic, you're like, she's coming out of this my 600-pound life. I know it. I moved and the pandemic happened like a week later. So I was in here, no furniture, pots and pans though, making like lobster bisque and creme brulees, sitting on the floor in my living room. So my mama told me early that there is no such thing as balance when it comes to all of this. There's always going to be something lacking. I think it is a matter of, do I care about doing anything about it? No, I don't. Today, this is what I'm doing. This is my to-do list, what gets done. I don't cry about, oh, I wanted to get all this done. I wanted to film this. I wanted to do this. I don't care. I did what I did and I'm going to bed because I'm going to get my 8 hours. If anybody knows me, I go to sleep. It doesn't matter where. When I need to be put down, I'm going down. My health, my mental, those things are really important to me. Right after the pandemic, my brother passed away. And it was a really like that there is no balance. Part of the conversation really made sense in that moment where it was like, damn, we did all this. We were working really hard. He was always in everything. He was a huge supporter. He got married. He was doing all of this stuff. And there still wasn't enough time. There just wasn't enough time. So for me, I think now there's enough time for me to do whatever I want when it gets done. And that's just what it is. I think a lot of people, we put these timelines that are self-imposed. Nobody else cares. Literally nobody cares. They didn't know you were doing it. I mean, unless it's for work, that's a different conversation. But like your life timeline to get married, have the kids, have the business. I want to be 30 under 30. I want to do this. I need these awards. I want to go to this conference. It's so tiring making a to-do list for the to-do list. That drives me nuts. I will never be that person. I think that's partly why corporate and I don't mesh very well because they have deadlines. And I'm like, but do you want it done good or fast, because that's two different things. Some things can be done good and fast. Some things, it's one or the other. And I feel like once people realize that, you ever see those little memes on Instagram where like Oprah started at like 42 and this person didn't get until 53. It's corny, but it's the truth. Like we think, oh, I want to be this successful person by the time I'm 35. I don't know why that's the magical number, but as someone who has 35 has come and gone, what exactly was the success? Because I've done a lot of the things when I was 20 that I said I wanted to do by 35. I did them. Am I dying tomorrow? What else am I doing? You make this timeline, and then when you get there, then what? What is it after that? So that's why I think time is made up. And that's when I start getting very hippy dippy, and I'm not going to do that to you. So I did scale back for a specific reason from the design stuff. I had an idea to create a brand with my best friend and my brother prior to his passing. I paused on that to process grief, but then I realized making candles, room sprays, and all this stuff tied to our Haitian culture and our upbringing was a phenomenal way for me to process my grief through creating these things. It started as a hobby, learning how to make candles and perfumes because I was obsessed with it. My brother was, my best friend is. And yeah, it just started like that. But then halfway through, I realized I had an entire room full of candles and perfumes. And I was like, I'm one person and I can only burn so many candles. I started gifting them to my friends and family. And they were all like, oh my God, this is so amazing. We want to buy it. And I was like, here y'all go. It didn't have a name. I was talking to my best friend one afternoon and she was like, you remember what we used to do on Sundays? And I was like, man, we used to kill Sundays. So Sundays were our day. My brother lived about 45 minutes from my mom's house when I lived in Florida. And he would drive up on Sundays and we would all go do random things. My best friend and I would go to church in the morning. We'd find some random new restaurant to try, or we'd have a spa day at home. And my mom was like, oh, here they go with the Sundays. Sunday has such a big signifier of an amazing moment or time or day. So we just thought, yeah, this is how we're Sundaying this weekend or this month or whatever. And that's how the name of the brand came about. People were like, how did you, what? This is how I Sunday. People don't realize it, but they connect with it so much. And it brings me so much joy when I say the name and people are like, oh my God, that's so cool. When they hear the backstory of why the products are really clean and why they are named what they're named, the story of it all makes me super happy. It is something that I am monetizing because making perfumes is not cheap, but it's something that I'm really excited to share with the world, especially now that cancer runs rampant and every day someone is losing something they loved because of it. Not just the person, but the families. You can't burn regular candles if you're a candle person. You can't use certain cleaning supplies. I wanted to create something that could go in a chemo room or be at home with someone in remission. The second portion of that is making sure that everything is clean, and I make it all myself now. I am looking for a clean manufacturer. So that's the scale back reason from not sitting in front of my computer designing websites, still doing it, but I love the scale back reason a little bit more. So if you guys want to enjoy my new brand, it's thisishowIsunday.com or This Is How I Sunday is on Instagram, and we're on TikTok. You can always buy something. Working on chapter 2. So we've officially put chapter 1 in the vault because it is going by chapters of experiences and memories. Chapter 2 will be coming out this summer, and I'm really excited about that. I'm still taking on design clients here and there, which is on iamsashar.com. You can always email me, which is sasha@iamsashar.com. Or you can reach out to Casey and get my phone number, whichever works for you guys. I'm always present. No, I was saying, I always tell people that branding isn't always intentional. You can think of things to put for a brand, but it's really you as a person, what your branding is. Unless you're going in for it to be like a business that you're selling off or like a really commercial business, I get it. But for most business owners, the reason why people buy into anything is because of you. And it took me a long time to get why everything I did ended up being really cool or people really liked it. And I was like, oh, it's because you guys like me. That makes so much more sense. But that's also, like we were saying, on my design page, I don't have a lot of images of me. I have it of my work. And then when people talk to me, they're like, oh, I totally get your design work now. And I'm like, really? that is really interesting that you can see my personality without seeing me in my work. And I love that. And I think that for me is the ultimate goal for any business that I am working with, and why I ask you guys the questions that I asked you, and why I like to get on the phone or shoot me a text and be like, you sure this is what you want to put on here? Because I feel like people should be able to see it and be like, oh, this is Casey. This is Sasha. Oh, this is our family. This is how I Sunday brand. I get the story on why the candles are coconut soy wax and wooden wicks. You shouldn't have to talk to me first to understand the brand. You should be able to experience the brand and then talk to me and be like, aha, I see what you did there.
As we conclude this special episode marking our 5-year anniversary rebrand, I'm struck by the insights our guests have shared about the power of intentional brand storytelling. Both the Brandsavor team and Sasha Revolus highlighted how crucial it is to build a brand that authentically reflects who you are and where you're going. Whether it's through the clarity, authenticity, and scalability that Nakia and Ikate emphasized in our messaging framework, or Sasha's commitment to creating websites that capture the personality behind the business, the message is clear. Effective branding isn't just about looking good. It's about truly communicating your purpose. For creators and entrepreneurs wondering if brand storytelling matters, today's conversations affirm that yes, it absolutely does. Your brand is how you connect with your audience, differentiate yourself in a crowded marketplace, and create a foundation that can evolve as you grow. To Nakia, Ikate, and Sasha, thank you for sharing your expertise and for being instrumental in helping Could Be Pretty Cool step confidently into this next chapter as an audio-first think tank dedicated to supporting indie creators and cultural institutions. As we look ahead to the next 5 years and beyond, we remain committed to using our platform, research, and community to help creators navigate and thrive in the ever-changing creative economy. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being on this journey. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Until next time, we encourage you to continue nurturing your process. Farewell, and may all of your creative endeavors flourish. Could Be Pretty Cool News is a Could Be Pretty Cool original production. Created, hosted, and executive produced by Casey Lueders. Senior producer is Liz Moore, and supervising sound editor is Trinity Jackson. Our original theme music was composed by Camille Stennis and cover art designed by AJ Johnson. To learn more about Could Be Pretty Cool and discover whatever else we're up to, visit us at couldbeprettycool.substack.com. Thank you for listening.